This meeting is being recorded.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're going to start in just a few minutes, just to allow a few more people to come. Please type one in the chat if you can hear me well. Type one in the chat if you can hear me. Sakina. Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. Welcome to tonight's session on constipation, and my name is Mu'mina Abdullah. Okay, so welcome to tonight's session, and I would like to know where you're coming in from, where you're listening in from, and what brought you here. So welcome to the session. Please let me know where you're coming from, what city, what country, and what brought you here to this session tonight. Okay, from Dubai. Nice. And what brought you here, Zakaria? And I'm in Al Quwain, by the way. Oh, Ontario, Canada, welcome. Is that Selma? Okay, so you have severe constipation. So inshallah, this session will be very beneficial to you, inshallah. Sakina from Manchester, UK. I want to learn something new to help myself and others. Alhamdulillah. May Allah make it beneficial. Okay. Sharjah. I probably had constipation issues on and off since I was a toddler. Okay. So basically almost your whole life. I've had issues with my digestion my whole life, and I think I'm starting to link it to some other health issues that I have. Yes, it's likely that is the case. May Allah grant you healing that leaves no trace of illness, and everyone here. Thank you for sharing that. Hey, anyone else? Tell me where you're coming in from and what brought you here to this session. Okay, continue to type. I have another question for you. If you struggle with constipation, what have you tried for relief? So some of you have already said that you have had constipation or you have constipation. What have you tried for relief? Okay, when I was a child, I used to take medicine. Okay, can't remember the name. All right, laxatives. Okay. Anyone else? What have you tried to relieve constipation? Diet changes, more fiber, more movement. Okay. Now I try to bring up my fiber, but I often do too much at once, and then it's gone past, and then end up in severe pain, and then I'm back at square one. Inshallah, we're going to talk about this to find out why that happens. Thank you for sharing that. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Recently, I've been getting gastrointestinal issues, bloating, constipation, etc., sometimes joint swelling. Stopping cow milk and gluten helps a lot. Okay. I tried fiber, fruits. It used to help me, but not anymore. So by the end of this, inshallah, you should be able to tell why the fruit and fiber is not helpful. Inshallah. Okay. Does conventional advice help? This could be advice from doctors, advice you see online. Does it help? Okay, I see not really. Okay, yeah, in your case, not really. Okay, yes. Anyone else? What do you think? Does conventional advice help? Okay, it didn't help me. Sometimes, not always, but it's not permanent. Okay, so it's not a long-lasting solution. Some do, yes. Okay. But I see a lot of no, not reallys. Okay. Well, let's get started. So, a little about me before we jump in. I'm an educator and I've been an educator for over 2 decades. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a homeschooling mother of 9. Alhamdulillah, 3 of them have graduated, so the last 6 are still under my tutelage. I'm a certified coach in 3 areas. That's diet, lifestyle, and body correction. And I've been supporting women with fixing their health and the health of their children for over a decade, alhamdulillah. So what we're going to talk about is constipation, what it is, common causes, and how to recover, inshallah. So my experience with constipation, I had chronic constipation. I was never what you would consider regular or on a regular schedule. I could go a full week or even longer without passing any stools. And around my period, it was even worse. So I would be considered in the bracket of having had chronic constipation for a long time. I recall even in childhood that this was an issue. I have family members who also suffer from constipation. My mother wasn't regular. I have other family members who also had the same issue. So it kind of seems like it's something that is hereditary, but as I learned more, it's not hereditary. I had an uncle who died from colon cancer. So growing up, we were very aware of this, and it was kind of something that was heightened, I would say, in our consciousness that we had to really consider our colon health because we had a family member who had passed from cancer. My first four children had stool issues. So as children, they had constipation issues. They weren't regular. And one of my sons really had severe digestive issues to the point where he started getting symptoms of celiac disease. And this is what started us as a family on this journey of recovery and protecting our health with food. And at the time um, that I was going through this, I'll say all the way up until my late 30s, I didn't know how to manage the condition. Nothing really helped. It was just a constant. So I had no idea what was causing the constipation. I didn't know what to do about it because anything I tried, whether that was more fiber, eating more salad, um, having more grains, whole wheat breads and things like that. None of this helped. At one point, I was taking psyllium husk, and that actually made the problem worse. And so I didn't know what to do because whatever I tried didn't work. So let's get into what constipation is. Okay. Constipation, in short, is when a person doesn't pass stool for more than 2 days. So typically you would expect to pass stool once a day at least. So you would go every day. If you go every other day, that's typically okay. But when you go past 2 days, then you might be in a bracket that we would consider to be constipation. Stool becomes hard and difficult to pass. Okay, so stool that's in your system starts to become hard and it's hard to get it out of your system. If you're constipated, it can cause toxic buildup. And what we mean by that is you start to have toxins re-enter into your bloodstream. Okay, so you have old stool sitting in your colon. It starts to release toxins back into your body. Also, your passageway of passing stool is one of the main ways your body removes waste and toxins from your body. If it's backed up, then the waste and the toxins start to back up into your organs, and other parts of your body. It can cause symptoms like bloating, lower back pain, gas, digestive discomfort, and hemorrhoids. Okay, so when you're constipated, these are these are symptoms that you can have as a result of being constipated, as a result of not emptying out your colon, not clearing out not clearing out the waste. Any questions before we move on? And as we're going through this, please feel free to type in the chat. What I have here on the side is a Bristol stool chart. If you're familiar with the Bristol stool rating, basically it shows you the different levels or the different types of stool that we pass. Okay, so type 1, 2, and 3 are generally in the bracket of constipation. So if you're constipated, this is what your stool will look like. It's either going to come out in little pellets or little nuggets that are very hard to pass, or in a sausage shape but lumpy, so it has like a pattern shape in it. It kind of like looks like balls that are connected to each other, or type 3, like a sausage, but with cracks on the surface. So it still has a pattern in it. If you have any of these, type 1, 2, and 3, you're in the bracket of being constipated. Type 4 is what we consider normal stool. It's like a sausage or a snake, but smooth and soft. This is what you want to get to because this is what is considered normal stool. And as you start to work on your digestive system, if you implement some of the things that we're going to mention tonight, inshallah, you will eventually, inshallah, get to this point at having a type 4 normal stool. Now, what are the causes of constipation? Some of the causes of constipation include poor gut health, and this in general is the number one cause of constipation. You have poor gut health. By poor gut health, we mean your digestive system, and in particular, your small intestines, is compromised. It has holes in the lining and is not functioning well. Poor gut health is also indicative of not having the correct balance of bacteria that helps you digest foods. Bacteria helps us digest and helps with regulating the passage of stool. When you have the correct balance, it triggers in your body that it helps your body with the signals that it needs to pass stool. When these bacteria are missing, then you have an element of that whole system that is missing, and therefore you get constipated. Poor bile flow. Bile is a secretion or liquid that comes from the gallbladder that enters into the liver, and it helps the liver to digest fats. When you've had a low fat diet for a while, or your gallbladder is congested, it has stones, it has other blockages in it, the bile does not flow between the gallbladder and the liver. This causes a malfunction or dysfunction in the liver. Now, the liver also helps with regulating passing of stool. So when you have poor bile flow, you have low function in your liver, and therefore you have low function in the entire digestive system, especially with passing stool. So you want to remedy this and have your gallbladder work properly so that it's secreting bile going into the liver, and the liver helps with keeping your whole body clean and with passing of stool. Poor body structure. This has to do with how your body is actually shaped. For many women, we have a situation where our spine is not actually correct. And you can see this by standing in the mirror and taking a look at your face. If your eyes are not in a straight line, if the tips of your mouth are not in a straight line, if you see one of your ears up and one is down, if you look at your shoulders, one shoulder up and one is down, this indicates that your spine is actually not straight and it has a curve in it. What happens in the body is that this curve actually changes where your organs are placed. It'll also change how your blood flows and how your nervous system responds to stimuli. So this can actually have an effect also on your movement, your motion, okay, passing of stool. So when your body is not in the correct structure, your organs are not in the correct place, therefore you have a blockage or a malfunction due to a misalignment. So you want to be able to straighten your body such that everything flows properly. Another cause of constipation is too much fiber. Now, we often hear that fiber is a remedy for constipation, but in reality, in some people, the constipation is because they have too much fiber. Okay, they have too much clogging in and it's not passing, especially if they are dehydrated. So dehydration is also a cause for constipation. Not drinking enough water, not having enough fluids in your system that will soften up the stool and allow it to pass. Okay. In addition to this point about fiber, fiber can actually be a food source for bad bacteria or the bacteria that causes negative symptoms in your body. So when we're talking about poor gut health and we're talking about a balance of good bacteria, if you have a lot of fiber in your system, you could actually be feeding bacteria that is adding to the problem. The sensitivity to dairy and grains. So a sister said earlier that it helped when she removed dairy and she removed gluten. That's because the sensitivity to dairy and grains causes constipation in a lot of people. And here, notice that we didn't just say gluten, we said grains, because grains are the seeds of grasses, and all seeds of grasses have a form of gluten. So, uh, a lot of times when we're trying to stay away from gluten, we tend to go to gluten-free products, but gluten-free products will have wheat gluten removed, but they might use rice, for example. Rice also has gluten. So does oatmeal. So do oats and other grains. So if you are trying to actually be gluten free, you have to stay away from all grains. Okay. In addition to this, when you're trying to avoid glutens, you also want to avoid starches because starches, just like fiber, become a food source to bacteria that cause digestive issues in your gut. Okay. So it is now you see that this is a layered issue and not just, I'll just take this out and add this. You kind of have to look at it at multiple angles. Okay. Incorrect position when passing stool. And I feel like this is one that isn't talked about a lot. That when you have an issue with passing stool, it can be the fact that we don't use the correct position when we're using when we're going to relieve ourselves. So the natural position for relieving a stool is in a squatting position. And when you squat, it actually aligns the the rectum and the anus such that everything flows in a straight line and releases fully. When we're sitting on modern toilets, this alignment doesn't happen. This position doesn't do that unless you lift your knees up to a certain point, basically up to your waist, so that you get that position. Now you can do this with either putting stools under your feet or getting what a product called a squatty potty, where that actually acts like a stool, where it lifts your feet up to the correct height in order to be in a squatting position. But this is very important, and um, I noticed the difference when we moved into a house that actually still had a squatting toilet in it. It made a world of difference. So we had that time as a family had already started changing our diet. We started improving our gut health. So this was an addition to it. And you can really feel or sense the difference between sitting in that natural position to release versus sitting upright like you're on a chair. So if you have been struggling with constipation, like chronically, consider uh, finding a way that you can get into that squatting position when you pass motion. Is a comment here? I think we all just sat up straight. Yes, is needed. Any questions before we go on? Is any of this resonating with you as a possible cause? If you have been struggling with constipation, do you see how some of these causes could be related to you? Okay, I see. Uh, yes, yes, definitely. Even sitting up straight on a modern toilet seems to help. Yes, it does. Yes, I can relate to a few of these. Okay. Could you repeat the poor bile flow part? Okay. Bile flow has to do with the connection between your gallbladder and your liver. In short, if there's a congestion in your gallbladder, if you have gallstones or any type of blockage, it's not going to send over bile, which is a secretion or enzyme that's necessary for your liver to function well. What it helps your liver do is to process fats. So when your liver doesn't process fats, that also contributes to constipation. Okay, so you have to work on your liver function and gallbladder function in order to regulate your stool. Yes. So the question is there anything that we can do to encourage this? Yes, and we're going to talk about it shortly. Okay. Okay. So how do you recover from constipation? From chronic, especially chronic constipation. To recover from constipation long term, and this is one of the things I focus on because you can find lots of information that's going to work temporarily. So as we mentioned, some of the sisters mentioned when we started this session that they've tried different things, but these what they tried does not last long term. So here, I encourage women, I encourage sisters to think about long term, not just quick fixes because there are a lot of quick fixes out there and you can get relief temporarily. But your goal shouldn't be just temporary. Your goal should be something long term so that you're not suffering with this بإذن الله تعالى. Okay. So consider long-term solutions, not short-term, especially if you have been dealing with an issue pretty much all of your life. That means you have a long-standing issue, and it's not um, it's not usually the case that a long-standing issue or a chronic issue can be resolved with a quick fix or something that works instantly. Okay, so just take this into consideration. So you want to look toward long-term recovery, and that's what we mean by the word recovery, and um, not just a remedy, but to recover from a condition means to heal from it, such that it that symptom or symptoms, because a lot of times when we have constipation, we also have several other symptoms that are related to it or connected to it, because the the causes all stem from the same root. Okay, so we want to address the root cause and eliminate the cause itself so that you have long-term recovery. Recovery means to um, to reverse something and not have it return. Okay, and that's what you're looking for. So for constipation, long-term recovery, restore healthy gut flora. By healthy gut flora, we mean restoring the bacteria that's going to help your intestines heal and seal. Okay, and it's also going to help with um, giving or having the enzymes that you need, the lubrication that you need to foster healthy stool. So you want to restore healthy gut flora using the GAPS nutritional protocol and use body correction techniques. So you want to work on your diet so that you start to recover from these digestive issues. And you also want to use body correction so that you make sure that your body is in alignment, so that your organs are in the right place and things are flowing properly, and you're on a neurological spectrum, that everything is connected correctly. But short-term relief, so in the short term, you can increase your intake of water, fats, and ferments. Okay, these are lifestyle issues, okay, that lead to constipation. And sometimes uh, you can start to relieve the constipation by just changing your habits. So drink more water. Look at how much water you're drinking. If you're only drinking like a half cup in a day, start increasing that to 2 cups, 3 cups, 4 cups. Start drinking more water. Start having more fats in your diet. And by fats, we mean animal fats, ghee, butter, sour cream, tallow, lamb fat. These are the types of fats that you want to have. Other fats like olive oil are beneficial. However, vegetable fats and animal fats don't perform the same in your body. So when we say increase fats, we're talking about animal fats. And increase ferments. Ferments or fermented foods are foods that are probiotic. They have bacteria in them that help with your digestion. Now, some people opt to take probiotic supplements. I don't recommend probiotic supplements. I recommend that you start introducing fermented foods, and in this case, fermented vegetables, okay, or sour cream. So start increasing in the fermented vegetables, because this is going to bring in the bacteria that you need to start balancing your gut and start bringing in the enzymes and repopulating that area so that you get the right functioning in your gut, inshallah. Remove grains and dairy from your diet. So it's a very high possibility that you have a dairy or grain sensitivity. Even if you haven't been sensitive to it before, it's good practice to remove them at first. Okay. The dairy, um, dairy, a lot of people have sensitivity to dairy because they are accustomed to using processed dairy. This is pasteurized, homogenized milk products. Okay. So this is what's actually triggering the constipation. So you want to remove it from your system, give your body an opportunity to relax from having these processed foods, okay, and start to recover. The same with grains. We use a lot of grains, and this is going to include rice, wheat, oat. These are all inclusive in grains. So if you are seeking to be gluten-free, then you want to move toward grain-free. You also want to go toward grain-free because grains have the tendency to increase inflammation, which can also affect constipation. Grains also contain sugars and other substances that can feed bacteria that cause problems in your body. They can also feed yeast. Okay. So in order to start helping your body balance the microorganisms, the yeast and bacteria in your body, you want to remove these foods that lead to um, adverse reactions. They lead to reactions that you don't want. Drink senna tea. This is a recommendation from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Is mentioned by Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah in the Tibb al-Nabawi, the medicine of the Prophet, that he asked a woman what does she use. She's an herbalist, and what she uses to relieve constipation, and she mentioned that she uses senna. Okay, so senna is a prophetic medicine as a remedy to relieve constipation. Remember, this is in the short term. You want to reduce fiber. Again, it uh, is a common recommendation to do the opposite. However, in many people, increasing fiber does not help with passing stool. So you want to decrease fiber so that you have less bulk that has to be passed through. And use castor oil massage. So if you are still struggling or you want to add a layer of relief, do a castor oil massage on your abdominal area. Castor oil also helps with liver function. So you kind of are targeting two things at once. So you can target supporting your liver and target softening your stool. Castor oil has the property of going through the skin and loosening things up. Okay, so it will loosen blockages, it will loosen the stool itself to help you pass. Okay, so you can do either, like I said, a massage, use castor oil to massage the area, especially before you go to bed, or you can use a few drops in your belly button. Some people find this is to be very effective. Just hold a few drops in your belly button and sleep with that on, and then it will help with relieving the constipation. Okay, question. How can we relieve constipation in 13-month-old baby? You want to look at, again, the reasons why the 13-month-old is constipated. Okay, consider the causes of constipation and then use the same techniques. So the recovery for an adult and a 13-month-old is pretty much the same. Okay, what about barley, quinoa, etc.? Barley, oats, quinoa, etc. Okay, barley and oats um, are grains. So if you're dealing with chronic constipation, I wouldn't use them regularly, okay, especially not oats. Barley is mentioned in the Sunnah, especially in the form of talbina, as being soothing to the digestive system. So this you might want to use sparingly, but if you are working on your gut health, again, sparingly, not something that you would use on a daily basis. Quinoa. Quinoa is not a grain. It is a pseudo grain because it's a seed of a plant that's not a grass. However, it is very fibrous. So if you are looking to reduce fiber, then quinoa would contradict that. Eating quinoa will go against that. Does that help? Any questions about anything in the recovery section? Okay, so we're open for Q&A now. If you have any questions, concerns. Feel free to open your mic or to type in the chat.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Hello, Sister Mu'mina. Jazakallah khair for this presentation. Thank you.
آمين وإياكي.
I've just started the phase 1 and I'm very, very like lethargic, completely out of energy. And I've been finding it very hard actually. Some things you think are very healthy and then you kind of slip up and realize that it's not a part of the phase 1. Does it get better? I hope it does. That's
It
my
does.
and
Okay.
my
Yes.
question. And also just like sometimes when you're really out of energy, like what other things can you have? Like I kind of cheated the other day. I had a handful of grapes and I had to do it because I was so out of energy. That really helped, alhamdulillah. But I didn't want to do that all the time because obviously there's a vision there of trying to relieve the gut and help it to heal. So is there any other things that can help along the way?
Yes. Okay. Thank you for mentioning the grapes, as I meant to mention that. When you're working on healing your gut, fruits are out. Okay. A lot of people gravitate toward fruit and they believe that it's healing and healthy for you. But in reality, fruits are something that you eat very, very, very sparingly. And that's because they have a lot of sugar in it that feeds yeast and bacteria. Also, they have a lot of fiber, which also can contribute to constipation, yeast, and bacteria. Now, your question, you said you just started. How many days have you been on? Did you start from stage 1?
Yeah, so I've been doing it for 5, 6 days now. That phase
Okay,
1. Yeah.
stage 1. Okay, stage 1, the maximum is 5 days. Don't go beyond 5 days for stage 1.
Okay.
Immediately go into stage 2.
Okay.
Okay, so that is one thing I would tell you. If you're still on stage 1, starting from tomorrow, move directly into stage 2. This will help with your energy level. Also,
Okay.
are you having sugar? You said you have low energy. Low energy is actually common, especially in the first few days, because your body is making a transition from using sugars, starches, sugars and starches basically as its energy source to using protein and fat as its energy source. So in these few days, that's what's happening. And so you feel like you have low energy because your body's trying to basically make that change. And that's why you felt better when you ate the grapes, because it's like, oh, this is what I'm familiar with. Quick jolt, with the sugar. So
Yeah, I think
yeah.
it's a bit of everything, isn't it? It's like the sugar levels are coming down, as well as I used to drink quite a lot of tea, so I'm guessing some sort of caffeine issue there as well, you know. So a lot of it is to do with that. But at the same time, I feel like all I'm having is broth and a few cauliflower mixture. I did do the cauliflower and like minced meat, like put together and then like boiled over the broth. I just feel like I'm very limited to what I can eat.
Yes,
Um,
in stage one, it is very limiting. That's why we don't stay at that stage very long.
okay, great.
Okay.
Mm,
Now, for your energy level, for that sugar, you want to
yeah,
use honey, preferably raw honey, and you're going to mix it with 3 parts of ghee. If you're doing dairy, ghee, 3 parts
o-
ghee, so like 3 teaspoons of ghee to 1 teaspoon of honey. Mix these together. And when you're feeling low, just take 1 teaspoon.
okay, okay. That sounds good.
And
Um,
this
um,
will curb that.
and one last thing, I know a lot of sisters are waiting for questions, is like the different phases. Can you just like summarize the different stages?
Mm. Well,
Or
that's actually
is that too much?
yeah, that's a session in itself.
Okay,
That's
that's
like a
okay.
full hour session in itself. But in
Okay,
short, there are 6 stages in the GAPS introduction diet, okay, because we have phases and we have stages. Okay, so we're talking about the introduction phase. There are 6 stages in the introduction phase. Okay. And as you're going through from stage 1 to stage 6, you're going to gradually reintroduce food. So if you're starting from stage 1, you basically remove much of everything that you're eating except for a few food items. But as you go through each stage, you're going to start adding in more and more and more food items until you get to full gaps. And then when you're on full gaps, there's a wider range of foods, and you feel like you're more eating what would be considered quote unquote normal in a sense. But throughout the GAPS diet, whatever phase or stage you're on, you want to remove grains, sugar, cooking oils, uh, starchy foods, and beans, legumes. So those 5 foods, you want to stay away from those for the various reasons. There are various reasons why those 5 foods, but typically those are the foods that cause digestive issues. Okay. So that will be in a nutshell. Of course, like I said, to go through each one is a session in itself. But does that help?
yes, Jazakallah khairan. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mm. Okay, what about Talbina if not taken regularly? Uh, if you're working on really restoring your gut health, then leave it out until you need it. For example, we didn't use Talbina for a while, but we had a death in the family, and so I introduced Talbina because that was the recommendation of the Prophet ﷺ. So we used it and we consumed it at that time, as it was recommended in the Sunnah. So consider what you're using it for. If you're using it as a replacement for a grain product that you had before, then I would say it's probably best not to use it. Okay. Can you say all about the different phases? Again, that will be like a session in itself. So I will reserve that not for this one, for this session. So perhaps in another session. Okay, tried castor oil in the belly button. Other than massage, it hasn't helped. Alhamdulillah, I don't really suffer from constipation. However, um, past couple of months, have seen some bouts of constipation. Okay, so you're saying that the castor oil hasn't really helped, but you don't really have constipation, but the past few months you've had some bouts. So here is the question. If you don't have constipation, why were you using the castor oil? And if it hasn't helped, perhaps there's something else that you need to do if you're having bouts of constipation. So remember, we had a list of different things that you can do. The very first thing, more water, more fats, more ferments, is typically what people need to start with. Okay. Those are the first three things that people typically need to start with to start to really see a change. So if you go from that being the first and you don't do that, but you skip to the castor oil, you might not see a change at all because you need more water, more fats, and more ferments. Okay, there's a request for halal beef tallow. If anyone knows, please feel free to type it in a comment in the chat. I heard about bile salts. Can they help at all? It's possible. However, you want to restore the function of your body without a supplement. Okay. You want your body to do what it is created to do, inshallah. So instead of supplementing and bringing in something that's going to do that function, work toward restoring that function so you don't have that issue at all. Because when you're using supplements, it does exactly that. It supplements. It does what your body isn't doing, which means if you don't build your body up such that it is functioning, whenever you stop using that supplement, you lose that function. Okay. So you want to work toward long-term recovery, and long-term recovery is going to need that you restore your body to its full function. I've been using castor oil for detoxing liver as I have fatty liver. Okay. So you're using castor oil to detox the liver. Are you doing anything else to detoxify your liver? Castor oil, fatty liver is a condition that is going to require a change in eating habits to restore your liver function, to clean it out and restore the function. Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions? Would you recommend continuing cupping with this? Yes. If you're doing hijama, yes, continue with the hijama. Yes, enemas also help. Yes, they do. Enemas are a very quick way to relieve constipation. Okay. You use enemas when you need to relieve it quickly, or you need to make sure that the body stays clean consistently. Okay, so you use an enema for that. An enema, in short, is taking water or water solution and passing it up the colon and then flushing out the stools. Amin wa iyaki. Jazakallah khair for coming. What can help with bloating and severe heartburn? Bloating and severe heartburn are also diet related. Heartburn is typically a condition where you don't have enough stomach acid. Uh, you don't have enough stomach acid. Okay, so typically people believe that heartburn happens when you have too much stomach acid, and so they recommend an antacid. Actually, it is the opposite. You don't have enough stomach acid, and therefore it causes this sensation. So what you want to do is start introducing fermented foods before you eat your main meals. Okay. Bloating, you need to find out what is causing it. So I would recommend keeping a food diary to see when the bloating happens. Okay. It could be triggered by a particular food, and perhaps you haven't noticed the pattern. So if you keep a food diary, you'll start to notice the pattern. It could be that there's something that you're eating. It could be that it's too much fiber. Too much fiber can also cause symptoms like bloating. If you're constipated, then that could be related to it as well. Okay. So look at the full picture, keep a food diary, and see if you can identify when you get these symptoms. Okay. Also consider doing the GAPS diet, okay, because the GAPS diet, inshallah, will relieve many of the symptoms that you're experiencing, and at the same time you learn your body and what's good for it and what you shouldn't have. Okay, so you start to understand your body better and understand what's triggering these symptoms. So as you go through this process, you will know, inshallah, what is beneficial for you and what you should leave alone as far as foods. Okay, if there are no more questions, okay, can't remember the term. The method is to mix water with some amount of salt, and that helps you flush out your system um, within half an hour. Have you tried it, and is it recommended to do? Okay, I think you're referring to a liver flush or a colon flush. Mix water with some amount of salt. Yes, that's a colon flush. Yes, I tried it, and I would never recommend it. SubhanAllah, it did not go well at all. Uh, when I tried it, it actually just came back up and did not flush my colon. But flushes in general are not recommended, because basically what you're doing is you're forcing your body to do something that it might not be ready to do. Okay, so you don't want to force it to do. You don't want to force it to flush. You want to support your body in the function that it needs to carry out. So if you are constipated, for example, instead of trying to force it to empty, give it what's going to support it to empty. Does that make sense? The same with your liver. Instead of trying to force your liver to cleanse, support your whole body and support its function, support it recovering so that it does it on its own in a more natural way. Amin wa iyaki. I hope that was helpful. Okay, so if there are no more questions, we're going to end here. Barakallahu feekum, jazakumullah khair for coming. If you have more questions on this topic or any topic, please feel free to post them in the chat and we'll answer them there. And if you are considering making this change and um, starting your recovery journey and you feel like you need support, please feel free to reach out. I'm on the group always, and you can WhatsApp me directly. I do free consultation calls, so you can contact me for that, and we look at your specific situation and what your next steps should be, inshallah. Barakallahu feekum, jazakumullah khair for coming, and take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.